Welcome back. This is the final video for landscapes, and what we're going to do is we're going to show you here how to use a height map. It's fairly simple. It's there's just a couple of things that you need to know about it, so when you're working on it that you understand what it's doing and why it's doing it. What I've got here is I've got several images that you're going to want to use. If I go back here to my content folder, see if I can find where that image is, because I think I brought it in generally. But what I've got is I've got a scene set up here ready for landscape. All I did was I've gone to the landscape thing. I haven't created it yet because I'm not going to do it new. I'm going to use an imported file. And so what it's going to ask me to do is it's going to ask me to locate a height map file. Now, when I do that, it's going to look in my computer for it. Now, I've got a bunch of them that are out there already. They're in the Google Drive. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back into my folder here really quickly. And I've got a height map folder that's got a bunch of height maps in here. And this is what a height map is. A height map is a black and white image that, if you're used to working with a 3D program like Max or Maya, you're used to bump maps. And a bump map is when we need to make something look three-dimensional, although it's not. We use something called a bump map, which is a black and white image with grays, and the lighter areas are raised up and the black areas are recessed. And a height map works exactly the same way in Unreal, except it's going to turn something into a 3D object. So instead of just having the appearance of raised or lowered areas, it's literally going to take any area of an image that's white, and raise it up, and any image that's black and push it down, and all the grays will be variations of up or down. And it's a quick way for you to go in and create some really interesting terrains almost instantaneously. You can paint your own. Like some of these have been painted by people. They wanted a particular, maybe a particular river that they wanted to see going through an environment. So they've gone in and painted a river, and they painted little mountains, and you can create your own terrain that way. Or a lot of times what will happen is you can go in and you need a specific terrain. Maybe you're working on something that happens to have a specific mountain. And what do you do? Well, you can actually go to, you can search online. NASA has a whole website. The shuttle mission photographed every inch of the Earth, and they've turned them into height maps. So if you want to have a particular place on Earth, you just go in and look at the NASA website for height maps, and you can just Google height maps and you'll find it. But you can go in and pick a specific place on Earth, and then you can zoom in on it and then pick that part of the terrain that you want and bring it in. So, there's this one's got, that's an actual river somewhere. There's the Grand Canyon. There's Poland right there. Some of these, I think there's Iceland. I've got in here different. There's another island right over here. Middle Earth. Somebody painted that thing and they call it Middle Earth. But you can go in and find these things if you need. Like this would make a nice, if you were doing a port town. You needed to build a scene where you had mountains and you had this little village sitting in this area of the sea. You can pick this one, and the areas that are black are going to be recessed, and areas that are white are going to be raised up. And you can go in, you can find something really nice to use. Yosemite's there, all those nice things. And I'm just going to go in and grab one of these just to kind of give you an idea of what it's going to do. This one actually was created using just some Photoshop files. I think that was created clouds, and then they went in and played with the levels just a little bit to create something like that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, I'll select that one that looks like a little port town, okay, and I'm going to take that. Now the files have to be PNG files, either a PNG file or a Photoshop RAW. Good luck finding a Photoshop RAW file. It's capital RAW. Most of the times you're going to find these things, they're going to be in PNG format, but it has to be a PNG file. You can't bring in a Targa or a JPEG or things like that. So you're going to have at least the ability, if you find a nice black and white image you want to use, or you paint your own, you're going to have to save it as a PNG file for it to work. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to click open. It says here the Heightmap file appears to be an 8-bit PNG. 16-bit is preferred. The import can continue, but the result may be lower quality than desired. So what that is saying is that there's more bit information on a 16-bit file than there is on an 8. It's basically half the resolution. So it might come in a little odd, but I'm just doing this for the purposes of showing you how to do that. So if you're creating your own, make sure that you save those as a 16-bit. I'm going to open up Photoshop over here on the side so I can bring it over here and kind of show you what it's doing, and then you can decide from there. So Photoshop, come on, let go. There we go. Photoshop, bring it in here. That and you're creating a new image. I'll just do that. You're creating a new image up here under Image Mode. Right there, 8 bits per channel, 16 bits per channel. So if I go in and set that for 16, you're not really going to see anything in here, but that is going to make a difference. So for example, if I close that down, I'm not going to save that, and we'll go ahead and we'll pop up this file over here. Let me go get my Heightmaps, and then the one I chose to use was that one. I'll bring that over and drop it in. There it is, and I'll go Image Mode 16 bits. Again, you're not going to see anything, but I'll just go ahead and save that so I don't have that problem again. And then I'll close that down and pull that back out of the way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Click import and do that, then I'll delete it. And we'll come back and we'll do it again, and I'll use the right one this time. So we'll go ahead and we'll look for that one again. That should be a 16-bit, so that one is right there. We'll click open. Now here's what happens when you first bring it in, and I'm going to have to speed this thing up so I can actually show you. You're going to get something that looks like this. So what it's doing is it's raising those areas up, and it's turning this thing into a giant spike. Now I can't click import, because if I click import, it's going to go ahead and do it, and I have to undo all those steps again. So I'm just going to kind of let you know. When you bring in a height map, what it does is it does extremes. So white areas are raised up as high as they can go. Black areas are recessed as far down as they can go. It's not subtle at all. Okay. Now, normally when we're bringing in one of these terrains, I need something that's a little bit more subtle than this. So what you have to remember to do is under your scale, and this is about the only time you ever have to mess with scale. What you want to do is on your Z scale, you want to go ahead and maybe take that thing down to 50 and see what it looks like. And go, well, that's still pretty spiky. Maybe I'm going to go down to 35 and see what it looks like. And that kind of gives me some hills and some mountains, and it gives me a flat area down here to do the things that I want to do. And I think that might actually be okay. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click import, and it's going to bring it in, and it's going to finish the whole thing out. Now, if I look here under lit, you can actually see what that thing looks like. All right, so now I've got, in fact, I probably could have brought that thing down just a little bit more to flatten it out, but you can see it actually does a much nicer job. You got this nice fjord looking thing here. I got mountains coming right down to the water, and if I wanted to go ahead and change that, I probably would maybe get out of here and go back and click on my terrain and see if I can't come over here and change that. It's set to 35. Let's maybe make that 15 and see what it does, and that might be a little bit more of what I'm looking for. So you'll have to kind of play with it and kind of see what you're doing in terms of what's actually going to work for you. Other than that, now at this point, it works just like a terrain or a landscape. So I can go in here to my Sculpt Tools, and I can go in, and if I decide I'd like to paint, I can come in here and I can do that. If I want to change it, I can, or paint the texture, I can go create a texture, and I can come in, I can apply the texture to it. It behaves just like a landscape at this point, once you've made that commitment to it. So this was just a brief thing to show you kind of what these things are and what you're going to have to do to actually work on them. So keep that in mind. Sculpt Tool. You're gonna be able to go in and customize these things and kind of do whatever you want to do to them. Once you get them to this point, just keep that in mind that they are going to come in spiky, and you're going to have to flatten them out. But once you do that, you've got a really nice ready-made terrain that you can come back and customize. If you want to smooth some areas out or make some areas rougher, you can go back and do all of that and kind of fix it. And I do this a lot. I'll go and find black and white images and bring them in and see, because sometimes it's a great starting point that I don't want to have to sculpt terrain. Maybe there are some times when I do want to sculpt my own specific terrain, but a lot of times I don't. So I'll just go in, find something kind of decent and bring it in and see how it looks. And if I like it, customize it up a little bit, maybe flatten some areas out or raise some mountains up. But I use that as a starting point, and you can do the same thing. So that's a height map. That's how it works, and this is how we use them.